Alright, so in the last video I showed you how to start strong in Good Game Empire. Today we're going to put that to the test. My goal is simple, to build a powerful economy, train a real army, and launch my first serious attack. If this fails, we rebuild. If it works, we start dominating. If you did miss the first episode, I covered the basics of Good Game Empire, building order, early resource management, and beginner mistakes. Now it's actually time to grow. Looking at my castle layout here, I've got my public order. My castle overview shows my public order, resource production, how much of everything I can store, and why food matters the most is because without the food, your troops are going to be able to, your troops will not be able to survive. Um, I'm going to upgrade my farmhouses before my barracks because, like I said, troops are useless if they desert, they starve. Um, Upgrading the woodcutters and stone quarries evenly help me to produce enough resources to support the fact that I can upgrade my farmhouses in a consecutive order. Without that, like I said, no food, no troops, no fun. Um, this is where most beginners mess up. They train too many troops too early, and then they run out of food for their soldiers, and then they starve, and then they have to start back at ground zero. So that's a downside to it. But now that the economy is stable, we start building a good army to essentially attack with. Um, there's two different types of troops here. We've got melee and we have ranged. Um, with ranged soldiers, you're going to want to use those to attack melee defenders, vice versa. So melee soldiers will attack ranged defenders. Um, Either one, you can, swap them out as you choose or as the defense calls for. Um, Avoid mixing inefficient waves. I'm not going to rush elite units yet. Early game efficiency over flashy units. Um, you know, you don't want to just go out with your greatest units right away, especially at this level. You're not going to have very many great units, so you're going to want to really just spread your army out over the person's defense. It'll really help out in the long run, yes. And doing things like spinning the wheel, just getting little bits of resources here and there really help because participating in your events, anything like that really is going to get you the soldiers that the best even the flashy units. Actually, you can get the flashiest units in the events that most people don't do, so they don't really obtain those soldiers, which means that you already have a head up advantage over them if you have you know soldiers that have like 200 um, melee power, for example, over a soldier that has like 58. You've got 150 more strength than they do. So, like for instance, here I have the melee veteran flame bearers. They're a defend range or a melee defender, so they're going to defend against melee soldiers. Vice versa with the veteran deathly horrors, you have those are ranged attackers. You would use those to attack melee defenders. With melee attackers here, for example, we have the veteran deathly horrors, which are going to be the melee counterpart to the range counterpart. All right, and starting to look around for some targets. What makes a good target is somebody that has low defense, inactive player. You can tell generally by looking inside of their castle, they're gonna have fires. They're just gonna be empty. They're not gonna be in any alliance. Little to no honor. Just very, very bare bones castle. Another way you can find this out is by looking at the weekly loot pool list because you're not gonna if they're inactive players, they're gonna be pretty much weekly loot of 0. So that's gonna help you out a lot in finding an opponent to attack. What to avoid is things like high wall level. The higher the wall level of their walls, if they're in an active alliance, it's not really a good idea to attack them because all those other guys are going to be, you know, squaring back down onto you. Um, like for example, a player like that just isn't in the alliance, hasn't logged in for a while, it's probably a good idea to attack them. So at this point, generally, you're gonna have a pretty decent army. Not the best troops, not the worst, but just a good enough army to where you can start your first attack. So at this point, I am going to be attacking a level 11 player. Decent, decent amount of soldiers, especially for that level, and especially for my level. He's got a decent defense setup. It's not like the greatest, but um, yeah, it's something. So while I'm setting this attack up, I'm looking, at his walls, at his Castellan, the bonuses that he has for his troops, and every little bonus counts. So his Castellan might have a, you know, 10, 15% boost on melee, melee or ranged defense. So you're gonna look at that. You need to adjust your setup accordingly. So for this attack, what I did was I just laid out an autofill attack to show you that autofill, while it's probably the most time efficient option, um, especially for events, just attacking a player with autofill equipped is really, I mean, you're going to get varying results. If they come online and change their defense, then you're obviously in for a defeat. So, um, which is what I did with this player. I sent an autofill attack, and it comes back not looking so great. Things I could have changed was this guy right here. Yes, things I could have changed was, actually adjusting my my commander. I didn't use my most powerful commander. That would have given me a little bit more of a bonus. I did try to add some more equipment to my commander to give me the best bonus I could, but it didn't work out. I think it was like 40 short or so. So, it what I needed to adjust was just really ensuring that I had enough soldiers in my attack so that I could, you know, be successful in that and, gain the most loot that I could, possibly have earned. Um, so another suggestion is really, you just need to just dial in on your defense too, because when you do get attacked, when you get that retaliation back, because 9 times out of 10 you're gonna get some retaliation, whether that be from the person's alliance members or just from the person himself. He's gonna want some revenge, so you need to be ready for that. That attack back and see this here. This is a report. I lost, not by too much, but that's okay. Learning, learning curve. So yeah, you're gonna need to make sure your defenses are up. Check your walls. Check your soldiers. Make sure you have plenty of defensive soldiers, melee and ranged, in your castle. Um, quick line bombs if you can get them. I know at the early levels it's definitely difficult, but it's manageable. So load your walls up with troops, tools, soldiers, everything like that. So, but yeah, in the next episode we are going to be actually joining an alliance, um, and trying to get active with wars. Maybe either starting a war ourselves, which is also pretty fun, or just joining one that's already taken place on the United States server, which there's usually tons that are going on at any given time. So, but it's always fun just to start something, especially at a low level. You do have more wiggle room with a lot of there's a lot more newer competition out there, so you can get ahead of those people and either destroy them and they will never come back to the game, or you can you know team up with them and get grow powerful together, more powerful together. So yeah, so yeah, um if you enjoyed the video, please make sure to like and subscribe. for the next video that should be coming out pretty shortly about just tips about how to level up fast and conquer your enemies. All right, thanks.